This is CBC Winnipeg News.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. Janet is off. I'm Riley Laychuk. The death of a patient waiting to be seen at Winnipeg's largest hospital is now a critical incident under investigation. It happened Monday night at Health Sciences Centre. CBC's Stephanie Cram brings us the latest.
Inside the Health Sciences Centre Monday night, a patient waiting for care in the emergency room died. The president of the Nurses Union says a death like this was unavoidable.
What happens is we play the shell game. We just move patients around depending on what's happening with them.
Patients have reported having to wait hours to be seen. This afternoon, wait times were between 5 and 6 hours at HSC.
When patients come into that department needing to be admitted, they are admitted, but they are often held in emergency for very long periods of time, waiting for a bed to open.
Jackson says she hopes Manitobans won't blame nurses for the conditions in the ER.
And I know the nurses struggle with this all the time, that they want to be able to see their patients, they want to be able to keep eyes on their patients, but that's not always a reality.
The details of what happened aren't known, but Shared Health did confirm that there was a critical incident Monday evening resulting in the death of a patient. Health Minister Audrey Gordon was questioned about the patient wait times.
We are going to continue to work with Shared Health, the health system leaders, to ensure that individuals are streamlined.
When pressed on the death at HSC, Gordon reiterated that Manitobans don't always need to go to the ER to get the care they need.
When they come to the emergency department, to ensure that they are triaged and allowed to make decisions about where is the best place for them to receive the care that they need.
Minister, all right, thank you very much, folks. I'm challenging you on that point. Patient flow, repeatedly, we keep hearing is not the issue. We hear it's actually a capacity issue.
We cannot have those running our healthcare system running away from questions. We need to be able to get answers, because Manitobans deserve to have confidence when they go to an emergency room that they are going to get the health care that they're seeking.
Jackson says sending patients to urgent care or walk-in clinics isn't a solution to packed ERs.
For many of the individuals who live in that area, there is no other option for them. They go to HSC emergency because that's the only place they can go for.
The Nurses Union says conditions like the one seen at HSC are happening elsewhere. Wait times are high and patients aren't being seen. Stephanie Cram, CBC News, Winnipeg.
We're learning more tonight about a Manitoba government delegation that has now returned home from a healthcare recruitment trip to the Philippines. The recruitment drive could bring as many as 350 registered nurses, licensed practical nurses, and healthcare aides to Manitoba. Hundreds of pre-screened applicants were interviewed. Immigration Minister John Reyes, whose own family immigrated to Manitoba in the 60s to work in healthcare, says it was a humbling experience.
It gave me such a great pride and joy to see many of our kababayans, compatriots, which we say in the Filipino language, travel from 8 hours away or 5 hours away after a night shift coming for this interview.
190 registered nurses, 50 LPNs, and 110 healthcare aides were given letters of intent of employment to come work in Manitoba. They have to have at least a bachelor's of nursing, 2 years experience, and English language training. There is no word on when the new workers will arrive. Well, that may sound good for Manitoba, but the Philippines is facing what many describe as a critical nursing shortage of its own, even as this recruitment delegation came knocking. Karen Pauls explains.
Nurse po talaga.
Ria Patule sees the shortage of nurses in the Philippines up close, sitting by her husband Rico's hospital bed. There's no one to attend to the patients, she says. Health officials say 40% of all Filipino nurses have left the country or retired.
You'd like to stop the bleeding as soon as we can.
Maria Rosario Vergara says the Philippines has a shortage of about 106,000 nurses.
The countries getting our nurses or those recruiting our nurses should also give us some form of exchange so that there would be something for our country.
The head of the Philippine Nurses Association says he's especially worried about high-risk pregnancies in rural areas.
So I think these are alarming.
There's also strain on those nurses left behind, caring for too many patients.
Could be high risk for an error for the patient.
A better life in Manitoba.
Manitoba's Minister of Labour and Immigration is trying to fill nearly 2,000 nursing vacancies. He hopes to recruit 300 Filipino nurses through an expedited pathway.
We want to make sure this batch that comes has a seamless transition so that they can be gainfully employed right away, and that'll benefit Manitobans.
But there are growing concerns in less developed countries that wealthy nations like Canada are exploiting those with fragile healthcare systems.
It's the higher income, richer countries who are going on this global shopping trip to address shortages which they have failed to recruit enough of their own, and they are taking from shelves which are already very, very bare and can least afford to lose nurses from.
Nurses in the Philippines are also torn between duty to their country and the much larger paychecks and opportunities abroad.
In God's time, so sorry.
Amir Pagadalan is emotional when he talks about being offered a job by the Manitoba delegation. He says it's a gift from God.
It will be enough to support my family po.
The Filipino government is starting to demand that countries like Canada do more, like fund nurse training spots or provide scholarships for Filipino students, or train nurses here at home so they don't have to go elsewhere to poach them. Karen Pauls, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Well, healthcare is expected to dominate debate at the Manitoba legislature this spring. MLAs were back today for the final sitting before an election that is slated for October. CBC's Bartley Kivas spent the day at the Ledge and is live for us in the newsroom tonight. Bartley, what is at stake this session?
Well, this legislature sits another 44 times over the next 3 months, and for the PCs, this session is a chance to claw back some of the popularity the party has lost over the last few years. Now, the PCs won large majorities in elections in 2016 and 2019, but polls suggest they've lost a lot of that support since 2020 when the pandemic started. A pre-election budget is coming next week. We already know it includes significant spending hikes.
We've been out listening to Manitobans. We've been hearing what they want to see, and we know they're having challenges with affordability issues right now. So we'll continue to move forward on that.
So Bartley, what will the opposition try to do during this session?
Well, they're trying to keep the focus on health care and continue to define health care as a crisis to ensure that the PCs can't bounce back. Now, that was relatively easy on day one of this session, with the PCs talking up their nursing recruitment trip to the Philippines, as you saw, and all parties reacting to that death of an emergency ward patient awaiting care at Winnipeg's Health Sciences Centre. This is a song the NDP and the Liberals want to keep playing all spring.
Well, Manitobans every day are hearing about the needs in our healthcare system, and we're very energized to come back into the legislative chamber and fight for a healthcare system that works for you.
I keep hearing from people across Manitoba, in Winnipeg, in rural Manitoba, in the north. They're praying that they don't get sick and that they don't have to go to a hospital because they don't think they're going to be safe there.
What else did we see on day one of the session, Bart?
Well, today was also a chance to see the two newest PC MLAs in action. Kevin Klein and Abhi Khan were both tested in their new roles as cabinet ministers during question period. They seem to be enjoying themselves.
I have never had so many fans cheer for me, even when I was a former Winnipeg Blue Bomber, as I do on the opposite side of the House.
Now, once the session ends, there will be 4 months to an election slated for October 3rd. Back to you, Riley.
Thanks, Bartley. CBC's Bartley Kivas for us in the newsroom tonight. A lecture by a professor at the University of Winnipeg is drawing controversy. Students and teachers are worried it may be harmful to the LGBTQ community. CBC's Joanne Roberts reports.
On Friday, a professor at the University of Winnipeg is hosting a lecture that's causing concern among students.
It seems very bizarre to me why they would promote this talk that is specifically singling out trans people.
Elliot Long is a U of W student and a member of the transgender community. He's questioning the language on the poster and says the term transgenderism isn't used within the community, and speaking about being transgender as a medicalized experience is not appropriate.
A human identity doesn't need to be the topic for a talk about commodification.
Political science professor Joanne Boucher is giving the lecture. She declined to elaborate on what she'll be talking about Friday. Long would like to see it canceled. The university did not respond to requests for comment in time for broadcast.
People can hold views, but we don't need to platform them.
Alison Brickey is an assistant professor in the English department. She says academics should have the freedom to speak about their work, but it needs to be done responsibly.
It doesn't give us a right to harm people with our work or to potentially spread misinformation about other people.
Brickey wants the university to reconsider if the lecture aligns with its inclusion policy.
We are known as being an open and inclusive environment for students and staff and faculty who are trans. So let's live up to those values.
And I want everybody to hear what's being said for what it is.
Bryce Byron is with the Rainbow Resource Center and is curious to hear what Boucher has to say.
It's important to hear what the people who don't like us are saying so that we can recognize when other people are being drawn down that same rabbit hole.
At the same time as the lecture, Brickey is helping to organize a Trans Love Hour so students who may be impacted know they have support. Joanne Roberts, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Several Winnipeg streets could soon have their speed limits lowered permanently. The city has selected more than 24 stretches of road where it wants to set speed limits at 30 kilometers per hour. CBC's Cameron McLean spoke to residents on one of those streets who say the slower speeds will come as a relief.
Nelson Sanderson has lived on Harbiston Avenue West for 25 years. He sees lots of kids walking across the narrow street.
You know, they'll have maybe 3 or 4 little ones, and you know, like sometimes you get nervous even them crossing the street.
He often sees cars speeding down Harbiston. That's why he supports a proposal to lower the speed limit from 50 to 30.
No, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
You know, for the sakes of all the children and older people like myself.
Down the street, Melissa Epp also supports the idea.
It's kind of nice because I have 2 kids, so I feel a lot safer with them wandering around.
Yeah,
like, if someone were to sneak off.
The city has chosen 27 street sections for the reduced speeds. In 2021, the city piloted reduced speeds on 4 streets that are part of the cycling network. Now the city wants to expand the project in order to make more streets safer for cyclists.
We don't have room in a lot of areas to put separated bike paths in. We just don't. So what we have to do is we have to look at the existing infrastructure, and we have to look at traffic calming options on the existing infrastructure.
The proposal to reduce speeds on cycling routes comes as the city is trying out lowering speeds on all residential streets in 4 neighborhoods, including here in Borkvale. This advocate is excited to see the city moving ahead with lowering speeds.
We've dedicated an awful lot of space in Winnipeg for people to drive cars, and we would just like for all users to have the opportunity to be able to access our communities in a way that's comfortable for them. So I think this is definitely a good step in that direction.
The city will start by reducing speeds on 10 streets, including this street here, Harbiston Avenue West. The reduced speeds will go into effect sometime later this spring. Cameron McLean, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Well, Steinbach keeps growing, and with it, the city's demographics are changing. And as CBC's Ian Fraze explains, a new weekly event in the city is helping some Muslims find support and each other.
A prayer rarely heard out loud in Steinbach until now. It's called the Jumu'ah prayer, a Friday afternoon tradition in the Muslim faith. And now it's happening in a small Manitoba city known for its big Mennonite population.
It's very important to feel that you are in a community that you can practice your religion.
Saif Asi began these services in February. He never envisioned a congregation this big. There are more Muslims in this room than the census says live in the whole city.
First time we did it, we saw so many new people. We didn't know each other before.
Now they have to rent a bigger room. Before the Jumu'ah, there was no natural gathering place for Muslims.
I'll be shopping in superstore and or any other shopping market, and we'll be talking like in Arabic, and somebody else will come and say, "Oh, are you from here? From here?" And on and on. This person have friends, and it's all connect together.
A decade ago, Muaz Jad, the imam at a recent prayer, would drive into Steinbach every day for work.
And it was a real struggle to find people in this town to, connect with.
It's why a gathering like this matters to him.
It starts with the effort of one person, really thinking, maybe we should try to get people together. Allah.
Like other Muslims, Fazan Hasham used to travel to Winnipeg to find the closest mosque. He doesn't have to anymore.
I come here, close my eyes, and I see children playing, I hear them, and it feels like I'm home. I turn around, I think my dad will be there. That's how good it feels.
The executive director of the Pat Porter Active Living Center says they're happy to be that place for them.
We started out with, a group of 30 or 40 in a room, and to have the women and children come today was fantastic, just to see them coming in and being more in our community, being part of who we are here.
The Asi family are Syrian refugees who came to Steinbach because the Mennonite Church sponsored them. Now their son Saif is helping other Muslims feel at home here. His mother beams with pride.
My son, he is help Muslim, is help Islam. I am trying. Because I am very excited. I feel in crying. Alhamdulillah.
They hope to one day have their own mosque in Steinbach. Ian Fraze, CBC News, Steinbach, Manitoba.
Meteorologist John Sauder is here with the forecast now, and the gist of what you're telling me is that winter's now over, spring's here.
Well, meteorologically speaking, we talked about this yesterday, how today is the first day of meteorological spring. So that means meteorological winter has ended.
So I shouldn't put away my boots yet?
Well, no, I don't think you should, because there's still a bit of winter weather in the spring coming. Let's get into the numbers. A look back at a few numbers here from winter, which meteorologically speaking, it's December, January, and February. Well, it was a warmer winter and a drier winter than normal, so we didn't have as much snow when compared to normal conditions, and we were a little bit warmer. Now, minus 20 days, if that's a good gauge on how cold it was this winter. I want to compare to last winter, because last winter was a tough one. We had 34 of those, but last year we had 62 days in that 3-month stretch that we had temperatures of 20 degrees or colder. This year, February was our coldest month, but only by less than half a degree Celsius, and we had less than half of last year's precipitation. But again, last year was pretty epic, so a lot different than last year. Minus 16 right now, made it to minus 14 at the airport today. I was forecasting a high of minus 12, so still about 9 degrees off the normal. North winds, thankfully, not all that strong through the day, and we did see some of that mid to high level cloud, and that is even clearing out tonight. The northern lights this week have been stellar. Pictures all over the place. We talked about it a little bit last night and showed a picture, but expect to see more of that tonight. And the trick is to get away from the city lights, of course, and online you can see some amazing photos of what's been happening. We've got a nice clear sky across northern Manitoba today, southwestern Manitoba, so the clearing is now happening into the southeast, and tomorrow, that kind of changes for northern Manitoba. Areas like Lynn Lake, Flin Flon, the Paw, right through Thompson and Norway House, we'll see increasing cloud overnight tonight and a pretty cloudy day tomorrow. With the exception of Churchill, Gillam, Island Lake, you'll have at least a sun-cloud mix. In the case of Churchill, it'll be much, much brighter. Here, kind of a sun-cloud mix. The trick tomorrow, though, and the feature tomorrow is the wind. It's going to shift to the south and start to get gusty. And then into Friday morning, the snow I was forecasting for Friday here in the south is staying a little bit farther north. So overnight, areas like Gimli, Barons River, through the Interlake, getting some snow and up into the north as well, while we see some clearing here, or at least a sun-cloud mix, and a much milder day on the way for Friday. Let's get into some winds and take you into tomorrow afternoon. The brighter colors, that's the heavier winds, and you can see Winnipeg with gusts of 43, I think at times 50. And then as we get into Friday afternoon, much lighter winds in the Red River Valley, a little bit stronger out to the west near Riding Mountain. Tonight, though, with that clearing back into the minus 20s, should be around minus 15, but a low of minus 22. There's your morning, breezy and downright windy in the afternoon. I'm calling for south winds 30 to 50 and a high of minus 7, so slightly warmer, but stronger winds. And then in the long range, look at these numbers as we head toward the weekend. 0 Friday, just a chance of flurries. Minus 1 Saturday, minus 2 for a high on Sunday.
Liking what I see there, John.
Yeah, I knew that you would, Riley.
Thank you.
You bet.
2 Winnipeg chefs are seeing their dream become reality. For years, they've wanted to share their modern take on Filipino food while teaching the younger generation how to cook. They also wanted to pay homage to their family's basements where they were styled in tiki bar decor, and that's how the Bahay Kubo Tiki Bar was born. CBC's Jim Agapito had a chance to visit the new establishment in the atrium of the Royal Albert Hotel.
This restaurant started off as a pop-up, and now it's in one of Winnipeg's most legendary venues. Let's find out what's inside. Hey man, how are you? I'm good. It's good to see this place.
You like it, eh?
It's coming together. It really does look, you know, like your Tito's basement, huh?
Well, that's kind of the feel we're going for. 1980s, early 90s. This shell lamp's been in, it was at my mom's house actually, since like the 80s. This bad boy's Carabao horns, so this is water buffalo in the Philippines, right? We're not gonna eat them because we need them to plow, right?
Yes, we do.
That's why there's so much spam and canned foods and canned meats. This is an offshoot of our tiki bar, so more food-oriented, less drinks. We do have a really strong Filipino base in the city, but you see all these Filipinos in all these restaurants every day, but you don't really see a restaurant or like a space like this, you know, for the community. So that's a big reason why we're doing it. You know, you want to do it for the community, show like people outside of a community as well a little bit of the culture, as you can see by the decor, right? and the menu too.
Can we reduce this actually? Why is it important to share this food with everyone?
Well, I think it's important because, first of all, I'm Filipino. I'm trying to explore the Filipino cuisine as well. I'm just trying to pay respect to my lolas, my grandmas, my grandparents.
Bahay Kubo means like bamboo stilt nipa hut in Tagalog and Filipino. But the food is not just Filipino food, so we're pulling from all the countries that have that type of house. So Southeast Asia, South Pacific, Philippines, heavy Philippine influence, but you know, we're not relegated to just Filipino food.
This is the pickled shallots. This is the barbecue glaze that we're gonna glaze it with. When I went to school, it's like most of the stuff that we've learned was like French. And I was looking at it, the way it was plated. I'm like, why can't Filipino cuisine be like this as well, presented like this?
We have such a big demographic of Filipinos, and I think it's really nice that we're showing our food to everybody that might not have tried Filipino food. So I think it's a great touch to the area.
Food is easily the best way to connect different cultures together. I think it's everything that a Filipino wants to represent with our culture, our people.
We're gonna dip it in the gremolata. So that's the toasted breadcrumbs with lemon zest, some pickled shallots. So you have your sweet, your sour, and then some green onions on top. Wanna give it a try?
Okay. Wow. That's good.
And it has miso mayo, pickled shallots.
Go straight in. Cheers. Cheers. Wow. Oh my god. The char. But the fat is good. It just melts.
Even our staff, you know, we have people, kids that are like different parts of the Philippines, and now they're excited because they want to revisit that. And that's crazy to me. You know, like when I was working in kitchens, it's French, Mediterranean, it's like not our own food, but now the kids have a safe space to work and be creative and stuff like that, and I like that. And then, so in terms of legacy, maybe that's it, right? You know, you get the younger generation learning about the culture, the food.
Still ahead for us tonight, a train wreck has claimed dozens of lives in northern Greece. A high-speed passenger train slammed head-on into a freight train overnight. We will have more on the investigation and the fallout after the break. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News. At least 43 people are confirmed dead after a high-speed passenger train and a freight train collided in Greece overnight. It happened about 375 kilometers north of Athens. CBC's Susan Ormiston has the latest.
This hulking metal carried some young university students. Rescuers needed to lift it to search underneath for their bodies. A jackknifed carriage was the third car. The first two were obliterated after barreling head-on into a freight train. Dozens died, dozens still missing. A Greek tragedy not seen in a lifetime. Incredibly, last night, two trains were on the same track at the same time, headed for each other. And when they hit at high speed, it sparked an inferno, incinerating passengers trapped in those first two cars. This man barely escaped. We heard a big bang. It was 10 nightmarish seconds. As we were turning over, we were being burned, fired to the right and left. These were the luckier ones, traumatized but alive. I remember feeling a very strong break, and suddenly I saw sparks and flames. We broke the windows with our backs. It was chaos. As the recovery continued, an unsettling picture emerged. Warnings from the train drivers' union of faulty equipment, of manually signaling with calls and texts, no automated system. The transport minister, clearly emotional, promised to fix the problems, but later quit, admitting that Greece's railway isn't fit for this century.
In short, massive underfunding. Only a year or two ago, 1/3 of the personnel of Greek railways was fired.
Yanis Varoufakis was Greece's finance minister, still an MP. Privatizing the Greek railway to an Italian company, he says, left a broken system.
The same government that engineered this tragedy is playing the blame game by having these people arrested and trying to pin it on them. It is nothing short of a complete and utter disgrace.
The Greek prime minister on site blamed a tragic human error. A local station master is under arrest, but there's growing anger that this was an accident waiting to happen. Susan Ormiston, CBC News, London.
Calls continue for a public inquiry into foreign interference in recent Canadian elections. Today, there was a committee hearing into the matter. The Prime Minister's National Secretary, Security and Intelligence Advisor testified that China poses the greatest threat. Still, she questioned whether a public inquiry would shed much light.
A public inquiry will have the same limitations that this committee does, in that we cannot talk about national security information in a public forum.
When asked late today if he would call a public inquiry, the Prime Minister did not answer the question directly. The director of the FBI has weighed in on the origins of COVID-19. He says the pandemic was probably the result of a laboratory leak in China. Now, that opinion is disputed by many people who say the virus jumped from animals to human at a market in China. CBC's Magda Gabriel-Salase has the latest from Washington.
The origins of the pandemic are most likely a potential lab incident in Wuhan.
That's the FBI director on Fox News last night, laying out the agency's position on the origins of the COVID-19 pandemic and seemingly accusing China of not being upfront.
The Chinese government, seems to me, has been doing its best to try to thwart and obfuscate the work here, the work that we're doing, the work that our U.S. government and close foreign partners are doing.
This comes after the Wall Street Journal reported over the weekend that the U.S. Energy Department shifted its position on the source of the pandemic, moving from a neutral stance to having some confidence that the pandemic began with a lab leak in China. Now, China today says there's no credibility to all this talk. The Foreign Ministry's spokesperson told the U.S. to respect science and facts and declared that China has been open and transparent. However, it's important to note that while China did let the World Health Organization in to investigate the origins of the outbreak in early 2021, a second request to gather more data that would have included auditing Chinese labs was denied. Now, of course, there is a second theory that the COVID outbreak happened naturally, jumping from animals to humans, and that the epicenter was a seafood and animal market in Wuhan. There have been scientific peer-reviewed studies that say evidence backs that up. So there are two theories, but not all U.S. government agencies and officials agree about which one is right.
There is not a consensus right now in the U.S. government about exactly how COVID started. There is just not an intelligence community consensus. That work is still ongoing. But The president believes it's really important that we continue that work and that we find out as best we can how it started.
So it's clear that the debate around the origins of the pandemic continues. Magda Gebrselassie, CBC News, Washington.
Still ahead, dancing can be good for your mood, but it can also be good for your health. We'll hear more about a study looking at the benefits of Bhangra dance in children of South Asian descent. Plus, John Sauder will be back with the Manitoba forecast. Maybe that will make you dance as well. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News. The University of British Columbia is studying the benefits of Bhangra. Preliminary results suggest the folk dance improves the heart health of children from a South Asian background. And that's not all. Michelle Gassoub has more.
In a dance studio tucked away in Surrey, the music is blasting and the moves heart-pumping. This isn't just a regular dance class. It's also part of Project Bhangra, a UBC pilot study looking at how to improve the cardiovascular health of South Asian children. 156 kids aged 8 to 11 took Bhangra classes twice a week for 7 months to improve their cardio health, and the early results are promising.
We also saw improvements in vertical jump height, and that really measures muscle strength and power, as well as waist circumference, a reduction in waist circumference and body mass index.
South Asian children are at higher risk of heart disease compared to other children due to a combination of lifestyle and genetic factors, but exercise can be a powerful antidote to pre-existing risks.
Power actually is using from your legs, from your toes, from your calves, from your thighs, right?
UBC's early findings showed that after months of these classes, the kids can jump higher and run more laps in a timed beep test. But the instructors found there are even more benefits, like increased self-confidence and new friendships.
The parents always come up to us, hey, our kid cannot go outside, talk to anybody, sits in the room all the time. But after a couple of months, it changes the whole scenario. The kid is more outgoing, more talkative.
What's your favorite move?
Should I show?
Yeah, show me.
That confidence also caught on camera.
Before, I wasn't that strong and I didn't know how to do the moves, and now I know how to do all the moves. I've been coming for a long time, and then when I'm doing exercise and hard moves, then I can get stronger. I have more energy each day to like run and stuff because of Bhangra.
Project Bhangra is now hoping to continue the research and expand the pilot from 4 schools to 20.
It really makes me happy that we were able to come up with an exercise, again, that it's culturally based. Parents love it, kids love it.
A way to connect to culture and build healthy habits, all while having fun. Michelle Gassoub, CBC News, Surrey.
What a great story.
That looks like a lot of fun.
It looks like a lot of fun. And you know, the thing is, obviously those kids were having fun.
Yes.
If you make exercise fun, they're going to get healthier.
Exactly. You know what else I've noticed? Behind us, at the start of the newscast, it's bright outside again.
Yeah, you know, you can see a little bit of light in the sky.
Still a little bit of light back there now, too.
Yeah, we're going to talk about some sunset times because in the next few weeks, things are really going to change. Have a look at this graphic, and I'll show you some sunset times. So today is on the left there, and that's 6:11, 11 minutes past 6. A week from now, it'll be at 6:22, and then in 2 weeks, on March 15th, that's 7:32. And that means our clocks are going to change. March 12th, Sunday, March 12th is when the clocks change. 3 weeks from now, 7:43. So through March, we notice a huge change in our sunset times and how much light, how much daylight we have through the day, at least at the end of the day. The amount of daylight changes the same, so it'll be a little lighter in the end of the day, but it'll be a little darker at the beginning of the day. Minus 16 right now at the airport, minus 14 at the Forks. Temperatures staying on the cold side of normal right across the south and out into northwestern Ontario, but mid-minus teens at the moment in Brandon and through Dauphin. Also Portage La Prairie, it's minus 10 in Kenora and in Sprague. And to the north, where skies were nice and sunny today after that system yesterday, on the cool side as well, minus 19 now in Thompson and in Norway House, and it's currently minus 27 in Churchill. So a lot of the cloud is clearing out to the east tonight. We still have some of that, though, in northwestern Ontario. And despite the cloud cover, which will eventually clear, temps are still in the minus 20s, even a minus 24 around Red Lake. Also in Barons River, minus 22 in Winnipeg. And we'll see just a few clouds here. Once that cloud clears out of the Red River Valley and out to the east, and mid-minus 20s for Brandon, but just varying amounts of cloud cover really across the southwest. To the north, temperatures are staying mild because cloud is moving into the Paw and Flin Flon, but still in Thompson, a low of minus 28, clear minus 33 for Churchill, same for Gillam, and then tomorrow, the brighter skies are in the north and northeast, really. All of the cloud covers from Lynn Lake down through Thompson, Norway House, and the west. And you can see the cooler air is also out to the east and the north. Churchill, a high of just minus 24. Across the south, we are starting to warm up, especially in the southwest. Minus 3 in Brandon, minus 5 for Portage, minus 7 here for a high in the Winnipeg area. Some pretty gusty winds through the Red River Valley. Steinbach, high of -7 tomorrow, -4 in Pinawa, and then a little bit warmer out through northwestern Ontario with a high in Fort Francis of -2, Kenora at -6. Now, as the weather starts to warm up, we naturally look for things to do outside. Well, Oak-Hammock Marsh has some family-friendly events planned for March, and today I put on some special footwear and I spoke to Jacques Bourgeois about some fun outdoor things going on at Oak-Hammock.
This is awesome. I love snowshoeing.
Beautiful day for it.
Absolutely. The sun is shining. It's nice and crisp. Jacques, I wanted to ask you about Oak-Hammock Marsh and how things were this winter. How was the winter out there?
Oh, it's been good. We had lots of snowshoe hikes, actually some at night. That was something new that we implemented a few years ago. People love that. You go at night and you can hear the coyotes, you can look at the stars. It's gorgeous.
We're going to talk a little bit more about snowshoeing, but you've got something coming up this weekend called Under the Ice. So it's a good time for that because there's lots of ice.
There is.
But tell me about Under the Ice. What's going on?
Well, it's a bit of an unknown world for many people because there's still lots of critters living under the ice at the marsh, all the little bugs and so on. So it's to show them that life is kind of still, but still there. So we'll be drilling some holes in the ice and try to catch the different bugs that live under there.
Great learning experience for kids, right? So
Exactly.
It's a good family event.
Family activity.
Tell me what else is going on this March, because the Northern Lights have been amazing this week, and you've got an astronomy night coming up.
Yeah, we do. Basically, every third Thursday of the month is our astronomy night at the marsh, and we have this month is actually all about the Northern Lights, auroras. This is the aurora season. Usually, March is actually one of the best time of the year to see auroras. So we invite people to come and check it out. We have a guest speaker who will talk about what to expect and how they form and so on. And then we go to the rooftop to look at the actual Northern Lights on the sky, if they're present, of course.
Yeah, well, and then so I'll be involved in trying to clear the cloud
Good.
for you.
Excellent. We're counting on you for that.
And toward the end of the month, you've got a spring camp that people can sign up for or sign their kids up for.
We do. During spring break, people can just drop in into activities at the marsh, or they can sign up their kids for a bunch of activities Monday to Friday from 9 to 4, and it's a bunch of fun stuff for all ages. Yeah.
I always say embrace winter. Don't just hibernate all winter long.
That's right.
And snowshoeing is a great way to get out and embrace winter. And you've got a snowshoe hike coming for families.
Yeah, the last guided snowshoe hike of the year. It's going to be next weekend, so not this one coming up, but next weekend people can actually sign up and go with the guide to explore the marsh. Or if they want, they can also just go online and register for their own, to sign up their own snowshoes and go explore on their own too.
Yeah, and
so we have that available.
Yeah,
all the
and
time.
people don't have snowshoes, you can strap them on.
They're available for them as well.
Now, the owl. Now, you just mentioned the owl thing. So
that's
you've
right.
got a live owl, right?
We do. On the 19th, Jim Duncan with an organization called Discover Owl will be at the marsh with his little Rusty, the long-eared owl, and he's going to be talking about the owls and so on. And during the talk, the owl will actually come out and fly around in the room over people's head. It is memorable.
They are amazing.
Great things to see.
They are amazing animals to see. Yeah. Okay.
Right, let's go for a walk.
Yeah, let's go. Let's practice because I'm really interested in the snowshoe hike.
Oh, I blew a shoe.
You blew a shoe. Well, this is a good time to race then.
Oh no!
Come on,
catching
Jacques.
up. Catching up.
Come on, Jacques. Let's go.
Coming up, an important day for people from the Dominican Republic who now call Manitoba home. We will have more on that after the break. Stay with us. Well, this week marks the 179th anniversary of the Dominican Republic Independence Day. It is an important day and an important celebration for people who live in the Dominican Republic and those who now call Canada and Manitoba home. The Dominican-Canadian Alliance in Manitoba is working to raise the profile of the Dominican community here. For more, I'm joined by Arlene Perez. First, maybe tell me, how big is the Dominican population here in Manitoba?
It's a good question that you asked. It's a growing population right now. The data is not updated, but the last census that Manitoba had is around 200 people. But as I said, it's not updated because the year, 5 years ago that I came, we came like 20 families together just that year, and we know that we are a growing population right now. So many international students and new families.
So how are you helping all of these newcomers integrate into the province?
Sure. The primary purpose of Dominican Alliance in Manitoba is to assist them and to help the newcomers with a ceremonial program. But it's inclusive program. It's not just limited to Dominican. It's for all newcomers. And we want to connect those people to the Manitoban or to Canadian community. We want to help them to understand the culture, and we want to connect them with jobs and to help them to connect with new families and to help them to get assistance in the with the community or with the government services. So having those kind of programs in place, we are connecting those new immigrants, in this case, Dominican, but we're not limited to them. As I said, we're open to newcomers, any newcomers. We are connecting those people.
How important is the link between Canada and the Dominican Republic?
It's really important because since a long time ago, I will say, like, Canada has business in the Dominican, and a lot of Dominican people looks Canada as an option to immigrate and to come to as a student or to work and to help and to build a new life in here and call them home. So I will say it's a really good relationship between both countries.
We're looking at some images of the flag raising that was happening at City Hall earlier this week. What was it like seeing that flag raised here in Winnipeg?
It was so emotive for all the Dominicans. We were so grateful to call Manitoba home and to see the Manitoba in the City Hall was open to raise our flag in our Independence Day. It was it's such an important date for all the Dominican, and we felt so proud to have the opportunity to celebrate our Independence Day in Canada, in Manitoba, and have the opportunity to see our flag. It was really emotive.
I'm running out of time, but what comes next for your group in the coming months here?
Of course, we are working towards Strength Canada economic growth, and we are motivating and teaching and guiding newcomers to use their skill for the benefit of the economic growth in Manitoba and all Canada as well. So the organization is committed to collaborate with local business, community organizations, and government to advocate inclusion and diversity in Canada.
Arlene Perez, thank you so much for your time, and all the best.
Thank you.
John Sauder, 7-day forecast and your daily lift still to come. You're watching CBC Winnipeg News.
Well, as clouds increase tomorrow, you'll notice the wind starting to pick up in the afternoon. South 30 gusting to 50 at -7 in the afternoon. And then look what happens. We get a 0 on Friday. Check out the weekend temperatures. -1 Saturday, -2 on Sunday. Next week does bring in a little more cloud, but temperatures will be close to the seasonal normal. You know, artists often display their work in galleries or museums.
But an Edmonton artist got a commission from Canadian actor Simu Liu through an unexpected connection on social media. Here's your Daily Lift.
So I pretty much randomly messaged Simu or commented on one of his posts on Instagram on New Year's Eve, and then the next morning I noticed that he had liked the comment, he liked a few of my posts, and then he messaged me himself on the DM saying, hey, I need some art. And I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool. So I thought he first wanted like a painting, but then he's like, oh, I have a big wall in my home gym, so can we do a custom mural?
And just like that, Amit flew down to Los Angeles to paint this massive mural on Simu Liu's home gym wall. Amit painted basketball star Kobe Bryant, an anime character, and Liu's Marvel character, Shu-Hong-Chi. He did it in 3 days. Wow. Simu Liu, by the way, also the host of the Juno Awards, which happens in Edmonton on March the 13th. Isn't that beautiful?
That is unbelievable.
That is unbelievable.
Lots of colors there.
Lots of colors. I love it.
On
I
a
love
gym
art
wall.
like that. Thank you for being with us tonight. Hope you have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you back here at 11. Good night.
Take care.